you believe that some of the perpetrators of this terrible, horrific crimes against humanity, not only Ukraine, because it's unbelievable what has been done in Ukraine by Russia, will actually be imprisoned? Do you believe, as a professional, as a person, do you have at your heart the belief that it is going to happen?
Yes, I do believe, because we have, and I see within the international process that the procedure is moving. Actually, within the international procedures, that the process is moving. But it is necessary to differentiate European Court of Human Rights from other institutions. In European Court of Human Rights, only state is responsible, and only for the violation of the European Convention of Human Rights. If we are talking about criminal responsibility of Russia and about other actions, those crimes you mentioned, international crimes, I mean, aggression, genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, those crimes are not covered by the European Court of Human Rights, and they are not covered by the European Court of Human Rights. They are not covered by the European Convention on Human Rights. They are covered by other institutions and by other procedures. In this respect, we are talking about International Criminal Court, which is covering war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity. And also national jurisdictions of Ukraine and other states having right to start cases against Russia and persons from Russia in accordance to the universal jurisdiction. If we are talking about aggression is not covered by the jurisdiction of International Criminal Court because in accordance to due to the procedural aspects and problems. And respectively, that's why it is necessary to create special tribunal, international tribunal.
Because the world was just not ready.
Yes, because to prosecute Russia and its higher-ranking official for the crime of aggression. So actually, we have two directions: International Criminal Court and National Court Institution. If we are talking about genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and aggression, and special tribunal for the crime of aggression, if we are talking about aggression of Russia against Ukraine. So, and if one will look into the process in the International Criminal Court, we have procedure, we have arrest warrant against Putin and Lvova Belova. We have at least agreement of international communities that it is necessary to punish Russia for the crime of aggression, which was confirmed by the resolutions of the General Assembly of the United Nations General Assembly. And now, so international community, together with Ukraine, agreed that it is necessary to punish for aggression. And now we are actually in process of negotiation how it will be better to do this.
All right, thank you very much for your detailed answer. Let me start another one. Also, the Russian Federation asked to apply the 39th rule regarding the supply of water to Crimea, obliging Ukraine to restore water supply. And then Russians themselves blew the Kakhovka Dam, and the water supply from Dnipro River to Crimea was cut for a very long period of time. And that has been done by Russians. And Russians now are trying to use the tools of international justice as propaganda tools and to divert attention from the crimes the Kremlin committed during the aggression against Ukraine. The Kakhovka ecocide. Do you believe that any just punishment available from the world to Russia for the perpetrator of this horrific ecocide? This is what I meant when I said that the world is just not ready.
Yes, of course, Kakhovka Dam explosion, it was awful crime, and it is even hard now to calculate consequences of it, because the consequences of this crime will be for decades in future for Ukraine. Yes, first of all, I think that taking into account the grave nature of this crime, it is to be taken into the consideration separately by the International Criminal Court.
So International Criminal Court will take this?
Yes. Right. And International Criminal Court do have powers to consider this crime because at least there was an war crime committed by Russian forces. Speaking about war crime, actually we can say about different criminal offenses committed by Russia within this one action, because there was an attack against facility containing dangerous forces. And according to the international humanitarian law, such facilities receive special protection. It is forbidden to attack those facilities, and there is a separate articles within the additional protocol to the Geneva Convention, first additional protocol, stating that it is prohibited.
Right.
And also, next point, that even if there is an attack or any other misuse of this facility with dangerous forces, state or party to the conflict who is exercising control over this facility is obliged to make any efforts to not to release these dangerous forces or to make any actions for precaution actions for such dangerous forces not to be released. This is second violation.
I was just asking the question. The next question is, President of the UN General Assembly, Csaba Kyiv, said that the UN Security Council failed to adopt any resolution related to Russia's war against Ukraine. Most countries around the world are aware of the Kremlin's responsibility for the unprovoked and illegal aggression against Ukraine. This is evident from the regular adoption of relevant resolutions by the UN General Assembly, in which decisions are taken by a simple majority of votes. At the same time, the UN Security Council is virtually ineffective, since the aggressor state in it has the absurd right to veto decisions. The current international security architecture has proved unprepared for the challenge of Russian aggression against Ukraine, despite the fact that this war jeopardizes the very prospect of a sustainable future for humanity and the whole planet. The mechanisms for implementing the principles of international security need to be improved to meet the challenges and requirements of the time, obviously. So, are there any solutions to this problem, and what these solutions might sound like? This is my question to you as a professional. How can we rebuild the old system of world security architecture? Is it rebuildable anyway?
I think rebuildable, but this is a very complicated question, because actually, of course, the aggression committed by one of the permanent members of the Security Council having veto right, actually the state and the body, which is primary aim of activity, the insurance of security within the world, shatters the very basics of international communication and international order. That's why, of course, it is necessary to reform the system, and the options are absolute. There are multiple options how to do this, from simple expelling of Russia from Security Council. This is one of the options. And
isn't it obvious? Pardon me, please pardon me. I mean, Russia presiding over the United Nations Security Council is the total absurd, isn't it?
Yes, it is total absurd, but taking into account that actually there are a lot of thoughts which has serious legal grounds that Russia illegally took place within the Security Council and within the United Nations. So I think there is some legal possibilities to expel Russia from Security Council and United Nations.
News.
But still, of course, this is very complicated, and there are a lot of questions about the implementation of this variant. Other variants are the reforming of international security system. And again, those options are absolutely different. From reforming of just Security Council, abolishing of veto right, or enlarging in quantity of countries having veto right, and or enlarging of membership within the Security Council, to the much more serious reforms, such as reforming of general reform of United Nations as organization totally. So that's why the options are very different, and I think that we have now a very crucial problem. It is aggression of Russian Federation, and we are to resolve this problem. But after this problem will be resolved, I think that international security system, and especially Security Council, United Nations, sure, there will be some reforms not to have such problems as we have now. The problems with which Ukraine meet, taking into account aggression of Russian Federation.
I can hear my own professor talking to me now when I'm listening to you, sir. I mean, you say about the different problems, but there are even more different and available range of tools and decisions. But tell me, if the thug comes into your house, kills a part of your family and rapes your wife, and then he presides in the very damn council of the security of your house, maybe the decisions just have to come a little bit faster. Maybe we don't have to think, we just have to expel. We don't have to, if Russia wants to preside, then let it preside the empty table, the empty chair. Because it's not just absurd, it's like a spit in the face of the total security architecture and the high commissioners and officers and blah, 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 and so on. Maybe at some point you have to leave your professorship and all these difficult decisions aside when a criminal is presiding. The very Security Council, it has to actually profess the only one thing, your security.
Yes, as I always explaining, the international law and international security is has strengths as much as international community is willing to protect it. In this situation, everything depends on the position of international community. When international community will have political will to change this situation, of course, the decision will be taken. As I am saying, now we see actually that international community is united, more or less, and international community do understand that this is necessary to change this situation.
Great. I mean, thank you. Yeah, pardon me. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I just imagine Mr. Zaluzhny in your place, and I can absolutely assure you what he would say. He's no professor, but he's a professional of war, and he would say, yes, we should just take a thug and throw it out of the house, and then we have to decide what law we just used or we have to use. I mean, first you have to deal with the problem, then you have to deal with the consequences, because sometimes, otherwise the problem can kill you. But I can take your answer, you are the professor. I mean, we have to do it in a legal and a slow way after Ukraine will win the war. So I have my next question. I just had a conversation with Gayania Narijanyan about the ratification of the Rome Statute. Only 122 countries ratified it, so due to the fact and due to the termination of any cooperation between Russia and the ECHR, how can we even speak about justice and jurisdiction in the world after all? I mean, we have to change the system before.
The ratification of Rome Statute, the Statute of International Criminal Court, is a big question. Also, in comparison with other documents in international law, more than 100, it is 122 or 3 countries who ratified Rome Statute. It is rather big quantity of states. It is rather big quantity of states in comparison with the whole quantity of states within all over the world.
I agree.
And the other point which I would like to say is that it's not from the international point of activity of International Criminal Court of international community. It's not a point of ratification of Rome Statute. It's a point of strengthening activity of International Criminal Court, because during a lot of years there was a lot of critics and a lot of struggle with activity of International Criminal Court from some of the states. And now such states are changing their policy concerning the ICC, and I hope that these changes of policy will have long-lasting consequences. This is one part of this question. Another part of the question is the ratification of the Rome Statute by Ukraine, because Ukraine, having active warfare, being a victim of aggression from Russian Federation, still don't ratify Rome Statute. This is an outrageous thing, I think, because Ukraine highly needs to ratify Rome Statute. We actually recognized competition. Ukraine recognized competence of International Criminal Court on ad hoc basis. So we recognized jurisdiction of ICC only concerning the aggression of Russian Federation and only concerning certain crimes, and only after the, if I'm not mistaken, May 2013. I'm not quite sure about the exact date, but. This is only recognition on ad hoc basis. We are not full members of ICC. We cannot participate in General Assembly of ICC. We cannot make any proposals concerning the policy of ICC, concerning the development of ICC. We only recognized jurisdiction of ICC concerning the aggression of Russian Federation. That's all. And this is, of course, a very sensitive issue, and it is hard for me as a professor, especially in international law. It is I can't understand why Ukraine do not ratify the Rome Statute, because the main reason which is mentioned is that Ukraine is afraid that our military forces could be prosecuted within the International Criminal Court if Ukraine will ratify Rome Statute.
Who says that? Is that Ukrainian authorities says that?
Yes. But come on, guys, this has already happened. By recognition of ICC jurisdiction on ad hoc basis, ICC already has jurisdiction to prosecute our military forces. But ICC don't do this because there is no cases for prosecution, because our forces are acting in accordance to the international humanitarian law. So that's the point.